right, good evening everyone. So you know what, actually I have some source sheets, so maybe we'll just take this. Thank you so much. All right, good evening everyone. It is an incredible zchus to be able to share some words of Torah with you. I think this is the first time that I've ever been invited to give a talk of chizuk for Tu B'Shvat. But the truth is, Tu B'Shvat is definitely one of those incredible days that is often undervalued. First of all, I have to say, the little pakalach that you have for the fruit over here is very impressive, because I remember as a kid, Baruch Hashem, times have changed. For Tu B'Shvat, you used to get a brown paper bag with something that was supposed to be fruit. It was often bakser that was recycled from the previous year. And I always thought to myself, Tu B'Shvat, which is supposed to be a day which is supposed to engender love and connection to Eretz Yisrael, to the Peiros Eretz Yisrael, yet very often the offerings left much to be desired. But it's quite beautiful to see that the beauty of Eretz Yisrael is coming out in these little packages. So I want to share with you just an interesting idea, because as I mentioned before, I often find that in Yiddishkeit we have two different kinds of Yamim Tovim. So we have Yamim Tovim, whose symbolism and importance is clear. Do you need more? Good? Okay. So we have Yom Tovim whose symbolism and importance is clear. So, give me an example of a Yom Tov that has a clear and apparent symbolism. Pesach. Good. Pesach. Simple one. Right? Yitzias Mitzrayim. Clear. And the truth is, when you go through, obviously, the biblical Yamim Tovim are obvious. Right? So Pesach, Shavuos, Sukkot are all connected to particular events. But the truth is, even when we get into Yamim Tovim that are Dirabanan, they also have clear ramifications. Chanukah, Purim, all linked to miraculous events. But then we come to Tu B'Shvat. So remember again, if you take a look at number one, so let's start with the halacha. So the Shulchan Aruch says, what does the Shulchan Aruch say about Tu B'Shvat? One simple halacha. Noagu shelo lipol al pneihem b'Tu B'Shvat. And this is the only halacha in Shulchan Aruch concerning Tu B'Shvat. Only halacha. What's the halacha in Shulchan Aruch? We don't say tachnun on Tu B'Shvat. Now, just as an aside, when the halacha tells you that you don't say tachnun on a particular day, what does that tell you about the day? That there's an element of simcha. Right, remember again, tachnun is a supplicatory prayer that has a strong element and tone of tsar. Vayomer David al Gad tsar li ma'od. Ultimately, tachnun is the two. Remember again, we do nefilas apayim, which is the closest that we come to prostration outside of the Beis HaMikdash, and it's a tefillah that really captures pain and captures difficulty and captures anguish. And so any day where there's an element of Yom Tiv, we don't say Tachanun. So I just want to be clear. All the Shulchan Aruch tells us about Tu B'Shvat is that we don't say Tachanun. So of course what we glean from that is therefore Tu B'Shvat must be what? Must be what? Right, a day of Simcha. Now how much Simcha? Again, the truth is, you don't need a lot of simcha to get out of tachnun, right? You only need a little bit of simcha to get out of tachnun. But nevertheless, the fact that we're not saying tachnun on this day tells us that at the end of the day, this is a day of some degree of simcha. So the Mishnah Berurah says in number 2, Tu B'Shvat, Shir Rosh Hashanah li'ilanos. Why is there an element of simcha on Tu B'Shvat? Because it is the new year for trees. V'noagim Ashkenazim laharbos az b'minei peros shel ilanos. And the Ashkenazim, I don't know why this is only Ashkenazim and not Sfardim, but the Ashkenazim customarily eat peros ha'ilan. It's interesting. Mishnah Berurah doesn't say anything about Shivas Haminim, and he doesn't say anything about peros Eretz Yisrael. He just says that, and we'll see why that is in just a moment. He says the minhag is not Tu B'Shvat. Ashkenazim, we eat fruit. We eat fruit. Okay, so this is the sum total of what the halacha of what the Shulchan Aruch Mishnah Berurah says about Tu B'Shvat. Well, we have to explore a little bit, because the Shulchan Aruch is like a teaser. Right? It's telling me that there's an element of Yom Tiv, but it's not telling me why there's an element of Yom Tiv. So let's take a look at the Gemara. Actually, a Mishnah. This is the first Mishnah Maseches Rosh Hashanah. We're not going to go through all of it. I just want to show you two parts. The Mishnah says, Arba Roshei Shanim Heim. There are 4 New Years. 4 New Years. So again, we're not going to go through all of them. Just skip to the last line, which I bolded. Be'echad B'Shvat, on the first of Shvat, Rosh Hashanah le'ilon kidivrei Beishamai, Beis Hillel omrim bechamisha asar bo. So last Rosh Hashanah, the last New Year, is the Rosh Hashanah for trees. And the Mishnah records the Machlokes. When is the Rosh Hashanah for trees? Beishamai says Rosh Chodesh Shvat. Beis Hillel says the 15th of Shvat. Number 4, just a few more sources, then we'll begin to pull this together. The Bartanura says, right, what's the obvious question? What's the not so obvious question? Right? What does it mean, Rosh Hashanah Le'ilanos? In other words, I skipped it, but you'll notice in the rest of the Mishnah, the New Year's make sense. The first of Nisan is the New Year for kings. That's how a king goes ahead and counts his reign. Jewish kings count their reigns from the first of Nisan. The first of Elul is Meiser Behema. Right? First of Tishrei is Rosh Hashanah, what we call Rosh Hashanah, calendrical Rosh Hashanah. So what does it mean that Tu B'Shvat, or the first of Shvat, according to Beis Shammai, is the Rosh Hashanah for Ilanos? So the Bartanura number 4 says, and we're not going to get too technical with this, I just want to whet your appetite. So the Bartanura says in number 4, Rosh Hashanah Le'ilan, Le'inyan Meiser Peros. Shein Ma'asun Peros Ilan Shechantu Kodem Shvat, Al Shechantu Lachar Shvat. Okay, so Hilchos Trumas and Meisros 101. Very simple crash course. Which is, the halacha is, you have to have what we'll call a tithing cohort. So what does that mean in English? So in order to go ahead and remove Trumas and Meisos from a particular crop, that has to be a crop that grew or was harvested or blossomed in the same year. So for example, just for illustration's sake, if I have 5782 oranges, right, and 5781 oranges, I can't tithe, I can't take Trumas and Meisos from my 5781 group from my 5782 group. Okay, so I'm simple. It's much more intricate, but for our purposes tonight, this is fine. So therefore, again, the Bartanura says, well, in order to be able to know which fruit belong to which cohort, you have to know when the year begins and when the year ends. And therefore, says the Bartanura, that's what the Mishnah is saying. Shvat is the new year for fruits, which means any fruits that grew, we're coming up on Tu B'Shvat now, so any fruits which grew between Tu B'Shvat, we'll just go with Beis Hillel for just a moment, the 15th of Shvat, 5781, to the 15th, or really to the end of the 14th of Shvat, 5782, that's 1 year's crop. That's 1 year's crop. And therefore, again, all Trumas and Maestros for those fruit should be taken from that year's crop. Incredible, no? Fascinating. Riveting, inspirational. I see by the expressions on your faces that you're moved by this, right? So this is very technical. So I want to be clear. In an agricultural society, this is important. This is absolutely important. Is there anything here that seems to speak to a dynamic of Yom Tov to you? No, not yet, right? In other words, we have a lot of important halacha, a lot of important technical issues, but still, wherein lies the element of Yom Tov? And I'll tell you something even more amazing about Tu B'Shvat. One more piece. If you take a look at number 5, the Shulchan Aruch says something very interesting. He says, Tzibor shebikshu ligzar tainis sheni v'chamishi v'sheni. If a tzibor, if a congregation decided to go ahead and declare what we call Bahab fasts, Monday, Thursday, Monday, when would a tzibor declare Bahab fasts? Under what circumstances? Anyone know? Simplest answer? Rain. No rain. Although the Gemara explains it could be for any tzara that comes. But again, no rain. So let's say you have a situation where there's no rain, chas v'shalom in Eretz Yisrael, and therefore the tzibor has declared a Bahab fast, Monday, Thursday, Monday. Upaga b'tainis Tu B'Shvat, and let's say one of the Mondays or Thursdays happens to be Tu B'Shvat. Hatainis nidcha l'shabes haba, kedei shelo yigazru tainis b'Tu B'Shvat shu Rosh Hashanah li'ilanos. So strange. So if it happens to be that one of the days that you were supposed to fast is Tu B'Shvat, what do? We delay the fast until the next week, which is something amazing. Right? If you're fasting, what does that mean? If a community is observing a Bahab fast, what does that mean? What does that mean? There's a tzara. Right? There's something really significant going on. There's something really serious. And yet here the Shulchan Aruch says, but if Tu B'Shvat falls out, we'll just go ahead and push the fast to the next week. So once again, this highlights the dynamic that Tu B'Shvat has an element of Yom Tov. Right? So now we have two sources pointing to the fact that Tu B'Shvat is a Yom Tov. Number one, we're not saying Tachnun. Number two, in the event ultimately that it falls out during Bahab fasting, we'll push off the fast day, but yet we still don't, We still don't yet know exactly when or why Tu B'Shvat is considered to be a Yom Tov. So I want to share with you something absolutely amazing. Take a look at number 6. This is from the Sefer B'nai Yissaschar. The Bnei Yissaschar was Rav Tzvi Elimelech Shapira of Dinov. So you can see a little bit of his biography over here. Born 1785 and passed away in 1815. I have more sheets if anyone needs. Thank you. So the Bnei Yissaschar says something amazing. Look what he writes. Now we're only going to do the first two lines because then we're going to do the rest of his idea really Baal Peh. So the Bnei Yissaschar writes as follows. He says, Taskil v'tisbone. You see, the Bnei Yissaschar is dealing with this issue. Why is Tu B'Shvat considered to be a Yom Tov? What is it about this day that is so Yom Tovdik? So look what he writes. Be'inyan hahu ger sheba l'shamai v'amar lamdini kala Torah kula aregal achos. So listen to this. The Bnei Yissaschar says, you want to know the secret of Tu B'Shvat? Do you want to know why Tu B'Shvat has a dynamic of a Yom Tov associated with it? It's all based on the Gemara of Hillel and Shammai and the people who came to convert. Now, you're probably familiar with this story, or these stories. Let's take a look at them inside. Take a look at number 7. So this is a beautiful, beautiful Gemara Masechah Shabbos. 3 stories in one Gemara. Let's take a look at them inside, because this is really going to serve as the basis for the Bnei Yissaschar. So he writes as follows. So 7 Aleph. Tan Rabbanon. There was once a Gentile, a non-Jew, who came before Shammai, and he asked Shammai a simple question. Amar lo, kama toros yesh lachem. He asked Shammai, how many Torahs do you have? Shammai says, Amar lo shtayim, Torah shebichsav, Torah shebal peh. So Shammai says, we have 2 Torahs. We have a written law, we have an oral law, Torah shebichsav, Torah shebal peh. Amar lo says, the Gentile says, shebichsav ani ma'aminecha, v'shebal peh eni ma'aminecha. I believe. So this is what the Gentile says to Shammai. So see, here's the deal. I want to convert. I'm ready to accept Torah shebichsav, but I'm not ready to accept Torah shebal peh. Sugeiraini almenas shetilamdeni Torah shebichsav. And the guy literally says to Shammai, convert me only on the condition that I am bound by Torah shebichsav and not by Torah shebal peh. What's Shammai's reaction? Ga'arbo v'otzio ben azifa. Now, Garbar literally means Shammai began to yell at the guy. Right? Shammai yelled at him. The Garban Azifa. He scolded him and he chased him away in a very abrupt fashion. Okay. Balifnei Hillel. So the same guy comes before Hillel. Gairei. What Gairei means what? Hillel converted him. By the way, there's a lot also in these Gemaras about Hilchos Gerus as well, about how much a person has to accept or how much a person has to know even before converting, but a different topic. In any event, guy comes before Hillel, same thing. I'm going to accept Torah shebichsav, not Torah shebal peh. Hillel converts him. Fine, Mazel Tov, he's Jewish. Next day, Yom HaKama Amarle, so now he's coming to learn with Hillel. That was the commitment. I'm going to convert you, but you also have to come and learn with me. And he comes to learn with Hillel. And what happens? What's the first lesson on the first day? Hillel teaches him Aleph, Beis, Gimel, Dalid. Today's lesson, Aleph, Beis, Gimel, Dalid. L'mocher, apichle. The next day, the ger comes back. And what's today's lesson? Today's lesson is Dalid, Gimel, Beis, Aleph. So day number 1, Aleph, Beis, Gimel, Dalid. Day 2, Dalid, Gimel, Beis, Aleph. Amarle v'ha esmo lo amart liachi. So the ger says, but Hillel, I don't understand, you're confusing me. 2 days ago you told me, or yesterday you told me Aleph, Beis, Gimel, Dalid. Today you're telling me Dalid, Gimel, Beis, Aleph. So what's going on? So Amarlo, lav alai didika samches, da'al peh nami samoch alai. The same way that you're going to rely on me to teach you the proper order of the Aleph Beis, you have to rely on Torah shebal peh to teach you the proper way, to give you the proper prism through which to understand Torah shebichsav. Good. That's story 1. Turn the page. Paragraph Beis, same source. Another story. Great stories. Another story. Shuv ma'aseh ben Ochri echad sheba lifnei Shammai. There was once another Gentile who came before Shammai. Amar lo, geiraini almanas shetilamdeni kala Torah kula kisha'ani omed al regal achos. These are all famous stories, right? So the ger comes before Shammai. He says, here's the deal, I want to convert. Convert me on the condition that you teach me the entire Torah while standing on 1 foot. So what's Shammai's reaction? Dachvo ba'ames habinyan shabiyado. So quite literally, Shammai chased the guy away with a 2x4. Right? He had a board in his hand. And right, Shammai did not have patience for this kind of stuff. This is ridiculous. You're not genuine. That's not how you convert. That's not how you learn Torah. So Shammai chases him away. Balifnei Hillel. Same guy comes before Hillel. Hillel converted him. And he said, okay, you want to learn Kala Torah Kula while standing on one foot? Here it is. Amar lo, da'alach sani lechavercha lo savid. That which is despicable to you, do not do unto other people. Zohi kol haTorah kula. That's the entire Torah. Ve'idach, anything else, perushahu, is simply a commentary on that idea. Zil Gimar. Now go and learn the rest. Now we have to pause here for just a moment because Hillel's idea is quite profound. You know, we have another version of this Gemara where we have Rabbi Akiva telling us V'ahavta l're'acha kamocha ze klal gadol batorah. What's the problem with V'ahavta l're'acha kamocha? Just a little bit of a tangent, but an important one. What's the problem with V'ahavta l're'acha kamocha? No one here has a problem with V'ahavta Mamish. I'm so happy I came. I feel inspired. This Chavre are incredible. What's the problem? I'll tell you. I'm not one of the Nashim Tzidkanios, so I'll tell you. What's the problem?
Let's say you don't love yourself.
So first of all, excellent. Number one, loving someone else presupposes that you love yourself. This is a very important idea. You know, sometimes in Yiddishkeit, we mess up a little bit with the concept of anava. Anava meaning humility. And we often go ahead and confuse humility with low self-worth. Low self-worth is an aveira. And it's the worst kind of aveira. When a person thinks they're worth nothing, that's not anava. That's low self-esteem. That's poor self-image. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov writes, that's the greatest Yetzer Hara. Do you know how the Yetzer Hara, the Satan, gets people to sin? It's not through taiva and it's not through gaiva. It's through low self-esteem. If I think that I'm a nothing, if I really think that I'm a nothing, then who cares what I do or what I don't do? Anava, on the other hand, means that what? That I recognize what I am, but I also recognize what I'm not. And I realize that for all of the good things I've done, there's so much more that I can be doing. And for all of the bad things that I've done, there's a lot of good stuff that I'm doing as well, a healthy sense of self. So first of all, you can't love other people if you don't love yourself. And unfortunately, Rahman al-San, there are many people who are not happy with who they are, who are not content, not comfortable in their own skin. Good. What else is the problem? What else? Right, so first of all, it seems like an impossible thing, right? How can you possibly love another person as much as you would love yourself? In other words, that even on a most basic level, one of the most natural instincts we have is preservation, self-preservation, right? There's something, and even in halacha says, chayecha kodmin, your life comes before anyone else's life. Good, so how can you really ever get to that level? Good, what else? So first, right, excellent, right? The $1 million question, not just here, but how could you be commanded to love? Remember again, that shaila actually begins in a much more fundamental place, which is V'ahavta as Hashem Elokecha. Everybody asks, how can you legislate love? You can't legislate emotions. You could legislate behaviors, right? You could tell people they have to show up to a shir, right? You can't tell them to like it. You can't tell them to love it. You could tell people how to behave. You could tell someone to keep Shabbos. You could tell someone to keep kashrus. But you can't legislate emotions. So excellent. That's a different topic also. I don't want to get on the tangent. So I'm going to keep to one tangent. Good. But how do you legislate love? Good. What else? There's a simpler one. Such a wonderful group of young women, incredible. Not everyone is lovable. There are some rotten people in this world. There really are, like legitimately, sometimes we think that at the end of the day, like, oh, everybody's good. No, it's not true, by the way. I hate to say, not everybody's good. I don't mean chas v'shalom, someone who's a Russia, and unfortunately, Klal Yisrael has Rishayim, just like every other nation. That's not what I'm referring to. I'm just referring to people. There are some people who are not nice. And there are some people who are toxic personalities. And there are some people who it's just not a good idea to be around them. It's just not good for me. It's not healthy. So I'm supposed to love that person? So I'm just pointing out, that's why Hillel comes along. And Hillel says, V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha doesn't mean to love people. Because the truth is, for all the reasons you mentioned, you can't legislate love. What if you don't love yourself? Right? Not everybody is lovable. Let's be honest. So therefore, again, Hillel says, You know what it means to love every other Jew? It means to refrain from harming people. Whatever you don't want done unto you, don't do to someone else. Which means, don't harm people. You know, there's an interesting shah that comes up in Hilchos Kibod Avayim, where sometimes a person, Rahman al-Islam, not everybody gets along with their parents, and sometimes parents could even have a negative impact on a child. And the poskim are filled with discussions about how does a child interact with a parent who's a negative influence. Chas v'sholom, it could happen. What do? So it's interesting. Under no circumstances is a child ever allowed to disrespect a parent. That's asur. But at the same time, I'm also allowed, sometimes, if it needed, to place a little bit of distance, right? I guess I can't harm the parent, I can't malign the parent, I can't hurt the parent, but sometimes that's what Hillel is saying. Hillel says, you want to know Kala Torah Kula? Kala Torah Kula is treat other people the way you want to be treated. Whatever you don't want done unto you, don't do to someone else. That's it. And in Hillel's worldview, that is Kala Torah Kula. Everything else is a parish, is a commentary on that core concept. Good. So therefore, Hillel teaches the Ger, Kala Torah Kula on 1 foot. Last story, Gimel. Shuv ma'aseh ben achri echad shaya over achori beis hamedrash v'shama kol sofer shaya omer ve'ela habegadim asher yasu choshen ve'efod. So watch this. Listen to this story. Third Ger. Well, right now he's not a Ger. He's a Gentile. He's walking by the beis medrash, and what does he hear? They're learning about the big day kahuna. Right? The beautiful clothing of the Kohen, the Kohen Gadol, and the Ger pops his head on the base of Medrash, and he says, Halolo me, tell me who gets to wear this beautiful clothing. So Amr Lo, the Kohen Gadol. He says, this is the clothing of the Kohen Gadol. Amr Osa Nachar Biatzmo, listen to this. Elech ve'esgayer b'shvil, she is Simuni Kohen Gadol. This guy has visions of grandeur. I'm going to convert. Why? I want to become the Kohen Gadol. What an outfit. Right? What a set of clothing. I want to wear that clothing. I'm going to convert, so I can be the Kohen Gadol. Okay, what happens? Balifnei Shammai, you already know how this is going to end. Right? He comes to Shammai with his vision of grandeur. Amar lei, Gairani al menashe tesimeni Kohen Gadol. Convert me, Shammai, on the condition that I can become the Kohen Gadol. Dochvo ba'amas habinyan. Apparently Shammai was still holding the 2x4, right? He was still holding the piece of wood, and literally he chases this guy away with a block of wood. I mean, because Shammai just felt he's so disingenuous, ridiculous. That's not how Gerus works. You don't convert. First of all, you're not really supposed to convert for any ulterior motive, let alone, again, one that is clearly out of reach. Remember, again, understand what's so absurd about this. This is even more absurd than the others. Why is this absurd? It's not possible. Remember, again, could you technically learn Kala Torah Kula on 1 foot? I guess so. I mean, Hillel did it. Hillel taught him Kala Torah Kula on 1 foot. Can you go ahead and accept Torah Shebichsav and not Torah Shebal Peh? Well, you could initially accept one and then later on come to a recognition of the other. But there's absolutely no way you can convert and become the Kohen Gadol. Impossible. If you're not part of Shevet Levi, if you're not a descendant of Aaron HaKohen, you cannot occupy the position. So Shammai says, get out of here. It's ridiculous. So who does he go to next? Listen to this. Balefnei Hillel, Gairei. So ultimately, again, he comes before Hillel, and Hillel converted him. Good. So the guy's converted, shows up to Hillel the next day. Okay, let's learn a little bit. And he says as follows. Klum ma'amidin melech el mi sheodea tachsisei malchus leich lamod tachsisei malchus. So ultimately, again, Hillel says, fine, you want to be the Kohen Gadol? No problem. Here's what you need to be the Kohen Gadol. You have to learn the Avodah. So open up a Chumash, open up Mishnayos, open up a Gemara. Go through all of the Avodah. Ultimately, again, about the Kohen Gadol. So what happens? He gets to the pasuk that says, "V'hazar hakarev yumas." Zar literally translates as how? How do you translate that word? Zar? Stranger. The stranger who comes close, a reference to the Kodesh HaKadoshim, ultimately, again, will die. So the Ger comes back to Hillel. He says, tell me, who is that pasuk talking about? And Hillel says, Afilu al David Melech Yisrael. That even if David HaMelech were to enter into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, he would die. Because David HaMelech, as great as he is, David Malka Meshicha, the father of a dynastic monarchy, the father of the messianic line, he is not allowed into the Kodesh HaKadoshim. And if he comes in, automatic immediate death. So the Ger then says, wow, I guess if David HaMelech can't go ahead and become the Kohen Gadol and enter into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, I guess I can't either. I guess I can't either. So what happens? If you look at the last couple of lines in paragraph Gimel, Balifnei Shammai Amar Lo, Klum Roy Ani Lios Kohen Gadol. So the guy in this story, interestingly enough, the ger goes back to Shammai. And he says to Shammai, why didn't you just tell me that I can't be the Kohen Gadol? Right? In other words, you chased me away. You didn't have a conversation with me. Why didn't you just tell me it wasn't possible? Once he saw the pasuk, he says, okay, I can't do it. Balifnei Hillel, he comes back to Hillel, Amar Lo, on the son Hillel, Yanucha Lecha Brachos Aroshecha, Shehikraftani Tachas Kanfei Ashchina. And the ger gives Hillel a beautiful bracha. Hillel, your humility, you are so humble. Brachos should rest upon your head because you brought me underneath the Shechina. Look how the Gemara ends. Paragraph Dalid. Liyamim nizdavgu shlashtan lemakom echad. Sometime later, these three guys got together. Did they know each other, not know each other? So remember again, we have the first guy who wanted to convert. Right? Shammai like screamed at him, he ran away, Hillel converted him. Second guy who wanted to learn Kol HaTorah Kula standing on one foot, Hillel chased him away with the 2x4, Shammai chased him away, Hillel converted him. And guy number 3, our vision of grandeur guy, he wanted to be the Kohen Gadol, Shammai chased him away 2x4, Hillel goes out and converts him. So these 3 guys get together. Paragraph Dalid. Amru, they said, they shared this sentiment, Kaptenuso shal Shammai, Biksha litardenu min ha'olam. Now, how would you translate the word kaptanuso? A kaptan. What's a kaptan? You don't recognize this word. Like makbid. So kaptanusa, I guess the best way to translate it is the exacting nature. The exacting and unbending nature of Shammai would have removed us from this world. An visanuso shel Hillel kervanu tachas kanfei ashchina. But the humility of Hillel allowed us to convert and allowed us to come close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So now, an incredible story. If I were to ask you, what was the machlokes Hillel and Shammai? What was the machlokes? What would you say? Like, obviously, Hillel and Shammai have 2 different hashkafas when they're approaching these situations. So what is what we call the nekudas hamachlokes? What is their point of contention? How do you understand the difference in approach between Hillel and Shammai in all 3 of these stories? What would you say?
One sounds more Litvish and one sounds more Hasidish.
Right, that would be right. Contemporarily, we would say correct. Right, one a bit more Litvish, one a bit more Hasidish. Absolutely good. What else? Any other thoughts?
Like Yer and Ava.
Oh, beautiful. Absolutely, a Yer and Ava distinction again. And by the way, that distinction also is very often seen in the distinction between Hillel and Shammai. Absolutely, absolutely good. What else? What else? So perhaps there's a fundamental machlokes as follows. You see, when these 3 guys come before Shammai, Shammai sees them for how they present. He looks at them through the prism of their words. Hillel looks for the deeper meaning, looks for the she'ifos. What are they yearning for? You know, often in life, there's what people say and there's what they mean. And it's very difficult sometimes when people say one thing, but you think they mean something different. So Hillel and Shammai have 2 different ways of interacting with people. Shammai's like, listen, I'm going to take you at your word. You want to learn Kol HaTorah Kula standing on one foot? That's ridiculous. Get out of here. You want to be the Kohen Gadol? That's ridiculous. Get out of here. You want Torah Shebichsav, not Torah Sheba'al Peh? Ridiculous. Get out of here. And what does Hillel see? Hillel looks beneath the words to understand what is the bakasha. What is it that this person is actually looking for? So think about for just a moment. Let's work backwards. When a guy comes along and says, a Gentile, I want to be the Kohen Gadol, right? So you could look at that statement in 2 ways. You could look at it as saying, this guy is just in it for the covet. He just wants the covet. He wants the clothing. He wants, what's the position? Or how else can you look at it? How else can you look at it? How else?
Maybe he wants to achieve very high status.
It's high, lofty spiritual goals. Maybe he just wants so much out of life that he doesn't just want to be a regular person. Do you know, sometimes the worst thing we do is we settle for being regular. We settle for being mediocre. We settle for being okay. A Jew is not okay. A Jew is great. And so when this guy comes and he says to Hillel, I want to be the Kohen Gadol, as much as Hillel's thinking, like, what a shemendrik, right? Who is this guy? What does he think? He's going to be the Kohen Gadol? But look deeper. What is he really saying? What is he really trying to say? What he's saying is, I yearn and I pine for spiritual greatness. And when the guy comes along and says, teach me Kala Torah Kula on one foot, again, Shammai sees ridiculous. You're looking for shortcuts. But what else could it mean? What else could it mean? Once again, such a desire to absorb as much knowledge as I can, as quickly as I can. Such an insatiable and unquenchable thirst. I want it all and I want it now. And when the guy comes along and says, I'll take Torah Shebichsav, the Torah Shebal Peh. So Shammai sees that, you're not committed. And how does Hillel see it? What do you think Hillel would say in that case? I'm sorry. First of all, excellent, you're halfway there. Right, wow. He's already committed to Torah Shebal Peh, to Torah Shebichsav. That's incredible. You know what else it can represent? Fear. That sometimes when people want to undertake new things, we're scared. We're scared of a lot of things. We're scared of failure. We're scared. Sometimes people are even scared of accomplishment, but we're scared. Whenever you embark upon something new and you realize that there's a massive task in front of you, it's normal to get nervous. And maybe when he says, I'll take Torah Shebichsav and not Torah Shebal Peh, he's not rejecting or repudiating Torah Shebal Peh. He's saying that I'm scared. I know that I want to do this, but I'm really scared. The Bnei Yissaschar says something so beautiful. He says, herein lies the machlokes, Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. Beis Shammai looks at these people as they present. This is how they present. This is how I gauge the situation. Beis Hillel says there's got to be something deeper. Behind each of these statements, there's a person, there's greatness that is yearning to come out. And if you just open the door, if you just give them the chance, they'll pull through. Who was right? Hillel, right? Hillel was right. Because at the end of the day, remember again, what's the end of the story? All three of these guys converted, and they became upstanding members of Klal Yisrael, right? And they're getting together. I don't want to tell you something else. Do you want something amazing? Who says in the Mishnah, Havi Makabos Kol Adam B'Seir Panim Yafos? Shammai. Incredible, no? Absolutely incredible. So I saw Rav Yisrael Meir Lau has a beautiful, beautiful parish on Pirkei Avos, and he posits that Shammai said that after this episode. That ultimately Shammai realized his approach was incorrect. Had Hillel not stepped in and saved these three neshamas, they would have been lost to Klal Yisrael forever. And it's at that moment that Shammai changes his approach. Heavy mekabelas kol adam b'sever panim yavos. No matter how crazy the statement may sound, no matter how crazy the approach may be, at the end of the day, give people a chance. Because what they say may not fully represent ultimately what they're really trying to get across. So now watch this. Let's tie this back. So it says the Bnei Yissaschar. Let's go back for just a moment. If you remember again back in source number 3, we had a machlokes between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel about the Rosh Hashanah Li'ilanos. Right? So the machlokes, Shammai said it's the 1st of Shvat, and Hillel said it's Tu B'Shvat, the 15th of Shvat. So watch this. How do we paskin? Okay, I know it's a little right. This is an easy one. How do we paskin? Like Beis Hillel, like Tu B'Shvat. So watch this. So what we're doing over, says the Bnei Yissaschar, is first of all, well, take a look. 2 more sources and we'll pull it all together. Take a look at number 8. The Torah says, this is in Chumash Devarim, totally unrelated topic. The topic over here under discussion is you're going out to war. And you're laying siege to an enemy city. So the Torah says if you're going to go ahead and lay siege to a city, do not destroy the trees unnecessarily. Number 8, Ki ha'adam eitz hasada labo lefanecha b'matzor. Now the truth is, this is actually a rhetorical question. The Torah says, don't cut down the trees unnecessarily, because is the tree your enemy? Is the tree a combatant that you have to go ahead and chop it down? But Chazal understand that in that phrase, Ki ha'adam eitz hasada, is a very profound statement. That man is like a tree. Human beings are like trees. Now, there's an obvious comparison to the tree, which is how trees have roots, trees have branches, trees have fruit. People have roots, right? Your roots represent where you come from. Your branches ultimately represent your accomplishments. and the Peiros represent the ways in which you try to change the world. So Adam Eitz Hasada. The tree has roots, branches, fruit. I have roots. Hopefully I could create branches, and hopefully I could create fruit. But look, okay, so now we have Adam Eitz Hasada. Adam Eitz Hasada. So man is a tree, which already tells me that somehow Tu B'Shvat is connected to me in some way, shape, or form. Tu B'Shvat is the Rosh Hashanah Li'ilanos. And by the way, I'll point out to you something very interesting. Actually, before I point it out. So, right, Tu B'Shvat is Rosh Hashanah Li'ilanos. Man is an Eitz, man is an Ilan. What happens on Tu B'Shvat? Anyone here ever in Eretz Yisrael during Tu B'Shvat? Yeah? What's different when you go outside on Tu B'Shvat? What's different? Nothing. Except, of course, Hashkedia Porachat, which I'm not going to sing for you, right? But you understand, it's actually interesting. The only thing you find different in Eretz Yisrael and Tu B'Shvat are really the almond trees, right? It's not just the song. It's actually true. Hashkedia Porachat, that's about it. So why Tu B'Shvat? Why is Tu B'Shvat, at the end of the day, this Rosh Hashanah Li'ilanos, when you go outside and nothing is different in the external world? Look at number 9. Then we'll tie this all together. So the Gemara says, "My time, Amar Belazar, Amar Oshia, Afa Pisharov Tokfa Mi Bachutz, Hoil V'Yatzerov Gish Mishana." Because by the time you get to Tu B'Shvat, the overwhelming majority of rain has already fallen. Says Rashi, and therefore what number 10? Shekvar Avar Rov Hagishamim Shuzman Revia, V'Allah Hasraf Bi'ilanos. Says Rashi, do you want to know what's unique about Tu B'Shvat? You know what's happened? You look outside, and what? Nothing looks different. But to give you an interesting idea, if you were to go ahead and cut open a tree, you would find something absolutely amazing, which is the sap is rising through the trunk of the tree. The sap is surging. Now, what's the sap? Right? The sap is the very vitality of the tree. It's the elixir of life for the tree. It's the vitality of the tree. The sap is what gives the tree the koach to sprout forth leaves, to sprout forth fruit. And comes to B'Shvat, because the rain has already finished, most of the rain has finished, the sap is surging up inside of the tree. And now we can begin to put this all together. Why is Tu B'Shvat a significant day? On a halachic level, Trumas and Maasros, right? First of the year for the Trumas and Maasros new cohort. Good. But there's a connection to me. What's the connection to me? I want to point out something amazing. If you notice, I'm just going to cause you to go back just one more moment. Take a look at number 3. Let me show you something very amazing. Look at the Mishnah again once more quickly. Rosh Hashanah, there are 4 new years. Be'echad b'Nisan, Rosh Hashanah le'melachim, L'regalim. Malacha means kings, regalim. Right, Yamim Tovim. Good, we're not going to get into that right now. Right? Ultimately, again, Rosh Hashanah, Becha B'Tishrei, Rosh Hashanah, Shanim, years, Shmitin, Yovlos, Natil Yarkos. Be'echad B'Shvat, Rosh Hashanah Le'ilon. What's different about the verbiage by Tu B'Shvat than by the other Rosh Hashanah? Excellent. Singular. If you notice something absolutely amazing, that it's plurals used in almost every other part of the Mishnah. On Echad B'Nisan, it doesn't say Rosh Hashanah L'Melech, L'Melachim. Echad B'Tishrei, Rosh Hashanah L'Shanim. Yet when it comes to Tu B'Shvat, it's Rosh Hashanah L'Ilon, for the tree. Who's the tree? Or what's the tree? And the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh quotes, the Bnei Yissaschar brings this down also, that it's telling me, the Mishnah is telling me, that Rosh Hashanah is not just an arboreally significant day. It's not just a Rosh Hashanah, ultimately, again, for the agricultural trees, but it's a Rosh Hashanah for the tree as well, for me. Ki Adam Eitz Hasada. Now, what does that mean? Still, I don't understand. So what's happening? What's happening on Tu B'Shvat in the trees, in the actual physical trees? The sap of vitality, the sap of potential, that very sap that is going to produce such beauty, hod v'hadar in the tree, is inside of it, yearning to come out. And therefore, again, says the Bnei Yissaschar so beautifully, there's a machlokas Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. When is Tu B'Shvat? We paskin like Beis Hillel. Or when is Rosh Hashanah Lilanos? We pass like Beis Hillel. That is Tu B'Shvat. But says Bnei Yissaschar, we don't just pass like Beis Hillel in terms of the date. We also pass like Beis Hillel in terms of life. And Beis Hillel says, how do you look at other people? By looking at their potential. And how do you look at yourself? By ultimately trying to figure out what your potential is. On Tu B'Shvat, which is the day when the trees are filled with sap and filled with potential, it's also the day that I introspect and I look inward and I recognize one fundamental truth. I have sap. I have sap. I am filled with potential. I have so much I can accomplish. I have so much I can be. But look at me. Right? I don't feel so tired. I feel so drawn. I'm this. I don't feel like I have that much potential. I kind of feel ordinary. And you know what? It's interesting. Because if you look outside, you're in on Tu B'Shvat, what do the trees look like? What do the trees look like? Let's be honest. What do they look like? They look more dead than alive. That's the truth. They look more dead than alive. Yet, I know that inside of those dead-looking trees is surging the very sap of vitality. Sometimes in life, I don't look so great either. I'm not talking about anyone's external appearance. Sometimes in life, I'm not really living the life I should be living. And I'm not really doing the things that I should be doing. And I'm not operating on all cylinders. I'm not maximizing my potential. And sometimes I look a little bit like that lifeless tree. It's true. Sometimes I'm blossoming and everything is great. And sometimes I just look like that tree that sits in your backyard in the dead of winter that looks so nebuchal, right? Nothing there, nothing going on. And you're wondering, is it ever going to come back to life? And it comes to B'Shvat and it reminds us that just like when the trees outdoors look half dead, the sap is surging through them and they are right about to experience a renaissance, right about to experience a rebirth. Man is the same thing. We are the same way. That even in times in life where I look down and out, and even in times in life where I feel down and out, the sap of vitality is surging inside of me. Potential runs through my veins. I just have to make the conscious decision to access the sap. I just have to make the conscious decision to tap into my potential. Because we paskin like Beis Hillel. We shouldn't look at ourselves based on how we present externally. And we shouldn't just look at ourselves simply, again, by measuring some external behaviors. But ultimately, again, we need to look at ourselves for who we are on a deeper level. The same way that Hillel looked at those three Gerim, not through just the simple meaning of their words, but through the deeper meaning of their requests, of their questions. It's not just how you relate to others. It's how I have to relate to myself as well. And perhaps this is why Tu B'Shvat is a Yom Tiv. It's not a Yom Tiv for the trees out there. It's a Yom Tiv for the tree in here. It's a Yom Tiv for me. Because as nature is renewing, I have the ability to tap into that koach of renewal as well. As nature, which looked half dead for the last number of months, has sap of vitality surging through the trunk, surging through the branches, now also I could feel the sap of potential bubbling up inside of me. But it's interesting, because it's only a little bit of a Yom Tiv. Why is it, if it's such a great thing that as nature is renewing itself, that I could renew myself as well? Shouldn't it be a bigger Yom Tiv? Why is it only a little Yom Tiv? Why? Because you have to do something about it. Because at the end of the day, halacha is like a little bit scared. You have so much potential, but are you going to tap into it? Because Tu B'Shvat could come and go, and I never try to find my sap. Tu B'Shvat comes and goes, and I never try to introspect, to figure out what could I do to be better, to live better, to become the best version of myself. So therefore the halacha says you don't say tachnun. Right? And if you're Ashkenazic, you'll eat a couple of fruit, right? A few pieces of fruit. But that's it. It's not a full-blown Yom Tiv. Why? Because you see, if you think about the other Yamim Tovim, let me ask you this. If you do absolutely nothing on Pesach, is it still Pesach? Yes. Right? If you do nothing on Shavuos, nothing on Sukkot, even nothing on Chanukah, nothing on Purim, it's still Yom Tiv, whether you do anything or not. Tu B'Shvat's not like that. Tu B'Shvat is only a real Yom Tiv if you choose to access the sap of your potential. But if I choose to ignore that sap and just go on leading a life of mediocrity, not bad, not good, just mediocre, or just kind of going through the motions, then it's not a Yom Tiv. Then it's just another day. It'll be a day without Tachanun, but just another regular day. And herein lies the incredible and beautiful koach of Tu B'Shvat. As nature renews itself with its sap, it looks the same on the outside, but I know that sap is surging on the inside. We have the ability to mamish do the same thing. And all of us have the sap. We all have it. You know, sometimes we just get like into the rhythms of our lives. And so rhythm sometimes is a good thing, and schedule sometimes is a good thing. But it's interesting, in Chassidus, it's not just in Chassidus, Ramchal talks about it also, the concept of hisbodedus, right? And the concept of breaking away from your regular schedule in life to spend just a few moments with yourself, by yourself, and with the Ribbon Shalom. You ever wondered to yourself, what was David HaMelech's career aspiration? With this I'll end. What was his career aspiration? What did David HaMelech want to do for a living when he grew up? Yes, the little David. Little David, what do you want to do when you grow up? What would he have said? A shepherd. Good. And if you asked Avram Avinu, Avram, right, what do you want to do when you grow up? Avram Avinu would have said? Shepherd, right? And it's almost, and Yitzchak Avinu, and Yaakov Avinu. You ever wonder, why does everybody want to be a shepherd? I don't know, I have a desire to do a lot of things in life. Shepherding is not on my bucket list at all. Why was it the desired profession of the great tzaddikim? It's very simple. Because you know what the great part about being a shepherd is? You're left alone. No one talks, because remember, where are you in a shepherd? You're out with the field. You're out with your flock. There's a profundity in that. David HaMelech just wanted to be with the Ribbon Shalom, and the sheep don't talk back. They might not go ahead and take orders all the time, but they never really give you a hard time. They don't yell at you, right? They don't speak disrespectfully to you. They're just animals, so you can even forgive their transgressions very easily. David HaMelech wanted that. Avraham Avinu wanted that. Everybody just wanted just to be left alone and introspect and connect with the Ribbon Shalom. Hakadosh Baruch Hu has great plans for people like that. He doesn't let them be alone. He wants them to engage. He wants them to change. And so often in life, we have the same thing. I'm not suggesting a life of shepherding for anyone, but at the end of the day, we get so caught up in our day-to-day lives that we forget to think about the important things. And there are many important things. So often you talk about, what are the important things? Well, the important things are, shidduchim, and college, and this and that. And those are all important things. But there's another very important thing, which is who you are as a person. What your identity is. Who are you? Who are you? And who are you not defined by where you take your college classes, and not defined by where you went to seminary, and not defined by which Beis Yaakov you went to, or not defined by where your family davens, but to ask, who am I? Who am I as a person? Right? If I were writing a real resume, I don't mean like the kind of resumes we use today, but a real resume. If I wanted to give someone a description, a portrayal of who I at my core? What are my midos tovos? What are the good parts? What are the struggles? What are the things that are working? What are the things that are not working? And so often you'd be surprised, we just don't pay attention to these things. We get so caught up in the labels that everyone and everything else places on us that we forget to work on the most important label. And the most important label is me. Who am I? What is my identity? Because unless I can figure that out, I'm not going to be successful in life. And Tu B'Shvat offers us the opportunity to remake that label. Tu B'Shvat offers us the opportunity to dig into our personalistic sap, to re-access our potential, and to remake ourselves. Sometimes you have to remake yourself. Sometimes you just have to tweak. Sometimes you just have to change. Sometimes I have to better modify. Sometimes I do have to remake myself. But that is the koach of Tu B'Shvat. So we should be zochem Yirtzeh Hashem that on this coming Sunday night, Monday, nature will renew itself. Whether you see it or not, it's happening. It's happening. You could try it out. I mean, it won't work in the trees in America. But in Eretz Yisrael, you could try it, right? The sap is there. The sap is there. Nature is renewing. You see nothing different on the outside. But inside, Olam hafuchos. Inside, the world is turning upside down. Inside, the sap is flowing. The sap is surging. Tu B'Shvat is the Yom Tov of Beis Hillel. Tu B'Shvat is the Yom Tov, where just like nature's renewing internally, we have the ability to do the same. So we should be Zochem Yirtzeh Hashem to find our sap. We should be Zochem Yirtzeh Hashem to access our potential. We should be Zocha to look inside of ourselves and see how great each of us already is, and how much greater we have the capacity to become. And in Yirtzeh Hashem, as the trees begin to flourish, bear their leaves and bear their fruits, we should be Zochem Yirtzeh Hashem to flourish and continue to flourish for many years to come. Thank you. All right, have a good night, everyone. Thank you.